All right, so let's talk about how much effort goes into bringing Plunderstorm back, right? So you guys are seeing they're bringing it back in January, and they're gonna... Actually, let's read the thing, because I'm not exactly sure what they say. I actually haven't read it at all. I got the notification on Twitter when I was skating earlier, but I didn't, like, read it. I just saw... I basically know Plunderstorm is coming back. I don't know really when or what they're doing. I think they said something like early 2025, so I just assumed January. But like, if you're gonna look at like how difficult it is to bring back Plunderstorm, it's like, so like difficulty is like, okay, refreshing the abilities. Okay, that's probably a decent undertaking by a couple people. If you are, I mean, actually refreshing the abilities is most of it. Maybe refreshing your current map would be like this much harder, right? Like refreshing, making sure the landing zones are a little bit more balanced. Maybe add some spice to it, like the little guy in the middle that chased people around and the little gold guy that just killed himself over time. Like that could probably be made a little cooler, right? Maybe a little bit more incentivizing to go for it. They could cook up a lot of stuff for the mode just to like, you know, just to fucking cook. You could do a lot of stuff. All right, here's how much effort it would take to do Plunderstorm in a different map. Like through the as far as time spent, it would be like through the fucking roof. This is actually something that's true with raids too. Like people wonder why it takes so long for raids to come out. Bro, it has almost nothing to do with the amount of mechanics on a boss or like the tuning cycle or the time it takes to design a good end boss. All of those things take time. Them designing and executing on the art in that raid is the vast majority of the time that it takes and why it takes so long for raids to come out. Them making any new zone they have in the game, it probably would take less time for like recent zones, but the amount of bug fixing and like implementing of like where things are and like how much testing it would take to make sure that like everything is right. They clearly did that a ton with the original Plunderstorm location because there was very little like falling through the world, certain chests don't work, stuff like that. It's really the idea of you just put a bunch of like random mobs and chests in a zone as like, oh, well then it's just good to go. I bet they had to test the absolute fuck out of it. I also bet that like they had to make a bunch of mobs that were thematic to the zone, right? And like they had to give them all abilities and they had to make maybe some, they probably didn't make any of the models, but they like reused some models like that. That all takes time. Like if they're, you have to think about, like, we talked about it earlier, about, like, how the game has released more buggy recently, and we talked about how they haven't really increased their worker size, like the size of the people who are developing the game, but they have increased the amount of content that we're putting out, and at a faster pace. Like, it's not even close compared to what it was a few years ago, before Dragonflight. So naturally, they're going to be a little behind on things. Things might release a little bit less finished, right? And then the whole argument comes into place of, like, would you rather wait an extra 2 months, or, like, are you okay with getting this content all throughout the year and it releases a little buggy, but then like most of the bugs are fixed in a week or something like that? Actually, most of them were fixed in like a couple of days. For a lot of players, I know people that actually would rather them have less content, but I think they're going to keep pushing out the content because they want to keep the subs churning, you know, or they literally want to prevent subs churning. I think that is the business case for it. So Plunderstorm is the same thing. So I don't think they initially planned on bringing Plunderstorm back. I think Plunderstorm was like something that was probably going to be a one-off, and then they saw how much people liked it, and they were like, okay, we can definitely do this again. But that was usually when content comes out, it is being worked on years ahead of time. Plunderstorm only came out last year, and I bet they did not have a plan in place to start working on the next Plunderstorm. It was kind of like, okay, Plunderstorm worked really well, people want to bring it back. Okay, let's start working on that now. That was only a year ago. Actually, Plunderstorm came out half a year ago, 3/4 of a year ago. So they've had only that amount of time to like really work on it. I don't think it was really feasible that we were going to get a new zone because it's just if you look at it as an undertaking and they ask themselves, let's just put yourself in the meeting. All right, guys, we're having a meeting about Plunderstorm. It went really well. Maybe some casuals didn't like the grinding. A lot of players didn't like the like grinding to 40 in game. Like maybe we need to come up with some alternatives outside of that. Maybe some dailies in game where you can avoid the PvP element if you don't want to do it. All right, let's talk with that. Okay, so when do we want to get this out? Okay, we want to like have it come out somewhat frequently. Let's talk about what will take time to develop this. Like what is going to hold us back from this coming out maybe early next year? And then someone raises their hand and they're like, if we can just reuse the zone and revamp and refresh the mode in a lot of different ways to make it feel fresh without doing the new zone, it'll make us be able to come out with this 6 months earlier with how much work we already have to do. And then someone's like, all right, I'm fucking sold. Let's keep the same thing. Maybe we mix up the map in the future, but like right now the map is fine, and it's by far the biggest undertaking. I can absolutely see that being the case. Also, just from a kind of like I've played a lot of battle royales, I think the emphasis on there needing to be new maps is super overrated. Like when it's about replayable gameplay and keeping it fresh with abilities and tuning all of those, and definitely you could refresh a ton of what the mode is, and that would already be great. New maps and BRs are like super overrated. Like bro, I've played like 5,000 hours of PUBG. They're like, they came out with a lot of those other, like the desert zone and like the forest zone with like less players. Bro, you could have just, I would have queued the original map of PUBG the whole time and been just as happy. Like the novelty of a new map wears off almost instantly, and it's really just about how good one map is. So I wouldn't even mind in Plunderstorm if they kept using this map and focused their efforts more on refreshing the mode rather than just being in a new area and all of the time that comes with that, and also the like potential problems that introduces. I think new zones and BRs are like, it's like how important graphics are in video games. Like a real gamer knows that like graphics are not what makes a good game great, you know? It's like okay and nice, especially when it's like a new like generational graphic game like Last of Us when it first came out. But like the focus on graphics exists for the normies, but like real gamers know that like, bro, it can look like a fucking 1990s game. As long as the gameplay is good, I'm fucking in there, right? I think BRs are a lot like that with maps. I think maps are mostly, I think it's way better to like double down, in my opinion. I think it's better to like double down on one map and make it really fucking good than feel like you have to change the map every season. It's also not like we've played that map for forever. Like that game mode wasn't even out for very long. Yeah, you have a good point. It's not a game mode that's been out for 9 months. Like, I'll be happy to go back to that zone. Why is bro running in circles? Yeah, that's my shit, dude. I fucking love running in circles. I actually think I'm incapable of talking to you all and going on a 10-minute rant like I just did while sitting still in game. I don't think I can do it. I think it's humanly impossible for me to do. I cannot do it. I have to be fucking moving around or else I'll blow up. I saw a lot of people upset about another Forbidden. You know what? I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. You just said Forbidden Reach. I should probably just like read what they announced. Maybe they have a video about it. Wait, WoW released a video? Where's this shit? Did they really? Siren Isle preview, World of Warcraft, 5 hours ago. Okay, W. All right. Game producer. Hi, I'm Kayla Brown. W. Kayla.
Kayla Brown, and I am a game producer on the WoW team.
Yo.
I'm here joined with a bunch of our talented developers in order to show you guys a little bit of a sneak peek into what we have lined up for our 1107 content update. One of the awesome features that we have coming in with 1107 is actually a brand new zone.
Wow, they're doing the new zone again, just like they did at the beginning of Dragonflight. Yeah, so I mean, just more evidence pointing towards them really doubling down on making sure new content is coming out so frequently. It's actually, I think you guys are used to it now with Dragonflight, I think, but if you were to like go back to like a BFA style cadence, a Legion style cadence, where you basically just get a patch and then 6 months later you get another patch and there's nothing in between, where right now there's actually a shitload of stuff in between, especially for the more casual player. It would actually blow your mind at how much more content they're putting out now. It may not be the content for you, but the overall content they're putting out in the game is actually crazy. Like, so far, like, think of it this way, right? Like, a normal patch from a couple expansions ago would have been Nerebar Palace comes out, Mythic Plus comes out, PvP is out. Okay, that is it for actually 6 months. There's tuning patches, but, like, nothing in between. What happened in 11.0.5? They came out with an entire raid. They did like 1 million reworks. In 11.0.7, they're coming out with an entire new zone again. I'm interested to see what comes out in the zone, but like that's like completely unheard of compared to other expansions. It's just like, it's kind of what we were talking about before, where if you wonder why things release more, they think the overall quality isn't lower, but like when things release a little buggier, I think it's pretty, maybe they also fired a lot of QA people, and bugs and QA are hand in hand, but they're also just if you were the average Blizzard developer, is just doing significantly more. I'm actually in the process of getting a Blizzard dev on our podcast, and I would love to hear about that process.
That we have named Siren Isle. Our design
I called it Siren. That's crazy. Why did I not see it as Siren? I guess I'm just stupid.
philosophy when creating this zone was to make sure that we made a very engaging outdoor end game experience that would cater to a whole bunch of different play styles and player types.
So right away, I find it highly unlikely that this is going to be interesting to a player like me, or even a player like a decent amount of you, I think. But I also don't think that's bad for the game. I think the casuals are the people who are rewarded the most and need the most out of the mid-patch content.
Siren Isle.
Like for me, like doing that, what was the zone called with with the rings, the Onyx Amulet, like that was like a 2-day thing. You like did the chests one time, you got the amulet, you did it on your alts, and you were out, right? But I bet it was a lot more involved for collectors.
Is a mysterious island located in a particularly stormy part of the ocean.
Mike.
During the Fourth War, it was used by the Kultirans to mine azurite, and then everybody mysteriously disappeared. Recently, the island has sent out a massive pulse of energy, and everything heard it. And your allies are mounting an expedition to this island to find out what happened and investigate.
Players arrive in Dornegal to meet up with
WKD,
which is Gazlo's assistant. And we find that the Earthen and the Arathi have already made it to the island, so naturally Skag gets ready to go. He's like, get on the Zeppelin, let's go, it's time for adventure. So what's fun about the Siren Isle is when players arrive, we see signs that Kultirans have been here before, but there seems to be nobody around, which is really interesting. We see all these buildings and structures, but by the time the expedition gets there, it's empty. It's one of those fun little mysteries, we hope. So on this island, players are going to have a wealth of enemies to encounter. We actually have 3 separate groups. Okay. So we have the Bloodwake Frightful, we have the Naga, and then we have a bunch of pirates. These groups
That's it. They're not any more sophisticated than just a bunch of pirates.
Group, week to week. Also,
wait, so the island is covered in enemies, and it depends on the week for what enemies are there?
Bloodwake Frightful. We have...
That probably doesn't mean a lot to me, but I could see that mattering to other people. A lot of other people, I bet also that's like really achievement centric. Like you can't just go out in 1 or 2 days and blast the achievements. I bet there'll be a bunch of Naga achievements, a bunch of pirate achievements, a bunch of Vikral achievements that will keep players that are like collection minded in that like mini patch for longer.
The Naga, and then we have a bunch of pirates. These groups will be rotating around on the island.
Was it when I hear island and expedition in the same sentence, my eye begins to twitch? Islands weren't even that bad. The only reason islands are negative in any of your all's minds is because you felt like, and this is a bad thing and it was Blizzard's fault, but you guys felt like you had to do them because they were by far the best way to get Azurite power. But like if you just remove that design element and you just look at islands for what they were as something you didn't have to do but could do for collectibles, I actually think they were pretty good. I think islands get thrown in with warfronts a lot. Like warfronts were, in my opinion, like definitely a failure. I don't think islands were a failure at all. I just think they made them too important to where you had to spam them. And anything you just have to spam, I think, gets old, you know?
So players won't encounter the same group week to week. Also, players will encounter...
Then you would just never do them? Dude, I know of players that didn't care about their Azurite power as much and didn't spam them outside of the 3 you did for that weekly, and just did them at the end of the expansion for collectibles and did not dislike them whatsoever. Now, a player like you might just not do them if you're only Azurite power, character power minded, but there's actually a ton of people in the game that basically don't care about that.
A large crystal in the center of the island that seems to sing gently or hum, which has attracted the attention of both the Arathi and the Earthen. So our friends on the island, they're all here for different reasons, which is really exciting. The Earthen and the Arathi are here to study the crystal, and you know, the goblins are interested in what the crystal can do, right? And so they're a really fun cast of people to have because they're so different. But it's also fun to have them all together here because their differences actually might be more complementary than we think.
Okay.
Siren Isle, being in a particularly stormy part of the ocean, is regularly lashed by horrible tempests. During these storms, powerful creatures of all kinds come up out of the ocean and assault the island. Players can defend their allies to go into the storm. In order to do this, their allies have provided them with vehicles and weapons and other tools that they can use to take on these much more powerful enemies. There's all these crazy powerful enemies that show up, and you get to use these tools, for example.
Wait, someone in chat asked, do you think she actually has that much Blizzard swag, or is it just product placement? So if you've been a part of shoots like that, there is some product placement involved, but the fact that they have this shot where there's literally no product placement, it looks like it's in this guy's apartment. I feel like it probably isn't. Like, what does her desk look like again? I bet that's all legit. I don't think they placed a single thing there. That looks very lived in. That looks like she's just a huge fan. That looks legit for sure. Also, this doesn't even look like an office. This looks like her home computer. Although maybe, I don't know, it's a really nice desk. I don't know really whether that means it would be at home or at the office. It could be both, but that looks like what a slightly above average passionate Warcraft dev desk would look like, I think. Because also you have to keep in mind, they also just get a lot of this shit for free.
Differences
during these storms, fend their allies to go into the storm. In order to do this, their allies have provided them with vehicles and weapons and other tools that they can use to take on
Rate
these
her
much more
setup.
powerful
Honestly,
enemies.
her setup
There's
looked
all
pretty
these
insane.
Crazy powerful enemies that show up.
I wouldn't like it though because it looked like she didn't have a lot of room for her mouse, and I like swing my mouse all over my entire desk. But like a lot of people don't do that.
You get to use these tools. For example, my favorite is the crawler mines. You can grab them,
Shout out
target one of the
Siegecrafter.
big nasties, and just have the bomb run up to
Hi,
it
Lily.
and explode.
Hi, Lily.
There's 3 caves on the island that are sealed up. Each of these caves has a deadly enemy inside. Players will be able to chip in, and you can donate to their excavations. And each of the factions, the Earthen, the Goblin, and the Arathi, have a different cave on the island, and players can donate to get the events to open.
Get your feet moving. We
Oh,
got a tunnel
okay.
to blast.
Kind of like
Circe Circlet is a mysterious ring that
The
once belonged
Emerald Dream
to
place,
a
right?
mythical, legendary sire named Circe.
Wait, what was this guy named?
Ring that once
Christopher Talbot. Let's look at his setup. This again, I think these are... No, this could actually be in his office. I think this is office. I think. Also, is it the same desk? The same, like, sit-stand desk? That's how you would know that both of them maybe were there. Also, I find it highly unlikely that there was a situation where they were going to film this intro, and they did it at these people's houses instead of just at the office. I would bet that probably everything is in office. These blinds look like something you don't have in a room. Look how big this window is, right? I don't see the desk controls on this one. Yeah, it would be a little bit more to the right, I think. But... I mean, the setup's pretty basic. This would be like what my setup looked like.
It's belonged to a mythical, legendary sire named Circe. It's a very powerful item that'll give you an edge, especially on the sire knot.
Yeah, it's another setup behind this, but that could be like someone else who lives in the house.
And as weeks unfold, you'll be able to unlock more gems, more powers associated with Siren Isle and the ring. So this is actually a model of Circe Circlet that you'll be able to see in game.
Okay.
One of our artists, Brittany Reinhardt, was able to throw it together, and
W.
you
Brittany.
can see, like, even in game, you'll be able to see it on your character, which is, I thought it was pretty cool. You'll be able to interact with a lot of different pieces of content
Let's go.
using this ring. It'll be fairly strong, and it'll have 3 different sockets.
Okay, so Onyx Annulet again. I think there's stuff they could learn from.
Each one is a different type, and you'll be able to collect a myriad of different gems that fit into these sockets, all of which do...
I mean, it sounds exactly like the Onyx Annulet, right? This sounds exactly the same. Which I mean, I guess they think that was successful. The weird thing with it was the power level of it. Like, if I remember correctly before they nerfed it, I think healers would have used the original version of the Onyx Annulet in this expansion. It was like 500 or 600 eye level or something when the ring started to get outscaled by secondaries because of how much damage it did.
Different things. Even in the current season, they'll be fairly strong, and in the next season, they'll kind of be strong enough to give you a leadway to the new content coming up. There's a slew of really cool mounts, a bunch of different transmog appearances, some of which are unused from past years that are really exciting to finally get into
look
the
at that
players'
bird.
hands. They've seen it in the files long enough.
First thing is we look for a lot of reference to make sure that we're making
W.
something
Michael.
believable.
Ooh, world designer. I wonder what that... So I bet that title is... I don't know how much they're involved with actually creating the zones, but like maybe like a concept artist for what a zone looks like. Like, for example, at some point they're like, here's what we think Ardenweald should be like. And then like maybe someone like him actually designs what Ardenweald looks like. All the hills, the valleys, the zones, the little mini camps, all that stuff. I haven't heard that job title before, world designer. That's kind of an insane title, isn't it? Like, dude, imagine someone's like, oh, you're a Blizzard. What do you do? I'm a world designer. Holy shit.
Something that seems like it's grounded in nature.
design the whole fucking
So that when
world?
players look at it, there's nothing that's just like totally breaks their immersion. The aesthetic is really interesting. It's kind
Some
of
god
inspired in
shit.
some ways by the American Southwest. Like I was looking at some references of Arizona and stuff. The elements of those cliffs there. And so those are some of the things that
Yeah, you can tell by the way he's talking about this, how he would bring like some elements from a real life place into the game.
to
That's sick.
bring the world to life. We have filled
Shout
this
out
thing with a lot
Arizona.
of secrets, even more than in some of our previous full zone maps, because it's smaller, it's denser. So I'm excited to see if people can find all the crazy stuff that we did. I put in this little spooky spot back here. The quest designers wanted like an atmospheric kind of creepy spot, so I put like lots of animal bones have kind of been washing up in here. Another thing that's cool too is all these little like caves and micros that we added in. Each one kind of has its own crazy theme. Like over here, they'll spawn in this like crazy.
This is a
dragon
sick
that's
video,
gonna
by the way.
get, spawned in from all these bones that have been collected and stuff. So that's kind of like the pinnacle of this like little creepy pocket over here. This used to be.
So the way that he was initially talking about that, like I heard some designers back here wanted something really creepy, so here's what I did. This doesn't, I was going to go on a different tangent here, but when I had spent some time by some time I meant like one afternoon at Blizzard's headquarters in the WoW space, the thing that I found the most fascinating from the outside was how much of their work they do at Blizzard is not something they were assigned to do. I don't know what the exact number is, and I bet it depends on the person, but it seemed, and at least when I was talking to them, they gave a bunch of examples of like, let's just say 70% of the work they do is stuff that out of meetings, they're like, okay, here's what needs to get done, and we divvy that out, and here's who's doing it. But like a decent amount of their work is actually stuff that isn't assigned to them. They just do shit that they find really cool. Like part of the job is just make cool shit. And I think that's fucking insanely cool. Like that's, and I got a lot of examples. Like the time that I saw this was actually from the guy who does all the secrets. So like, do you guys know there's like that secret finding Discord, and usually they try to put some of that stuff in the game. And I talked to that guy, and he was showing me a secret that they were putting into, or part of a secret that they were putting into the last patch of Dragonflight, the Emirdrasil patch in the Emerald Dream. And you could tell the way that he talked about it, and he even alluded to as much, that if he wasn't working at Blizzard, he would be one of those people in the secret finding Discord trying to find these secrets. But just one of those people works at Blizzard, and basically the only reason they exist is because he thinks that the secrets are really fucking cool, right? And I think that's awesome, you know? Like, I think it matters to me differently that I don't really care about secret stuff, but like knowing that someone wasn't like, hey, you're the secret guy, make secrets. That never happened. He was just like, I think it'd be really fucking cool if we had secrets, and then he did it, right? That's how that actually happened. And I bet there's all kinds of stuff that happens at Blizzard because these people are actually really passionate about it, and they think these things are really fucking cool. And I think that's really fucking cool. Anyways, back to the video.
Those that we added in, each one kind of has its own crazy theme. Like over here, they'll spawn in collected and stuff. So that's kind of like the pinnacle of this like little creepy pocket over here. This used to be like an azurite mine over here in the center. So there's like elements of what happened here, but then you can tell something bad happened. And there's also this really cool stuff that was put up in the ridges of the mountains. And one of the things I helped out with doing was like making a lot of this space playable. So instead of just being limited to a flat 2D plane, we can put stuff on top of that 2D plane, and then you get new gameplay experiences, new vantage points, like this big mine track that goes above everything. We definitely do a lot of
dude, that's so cool. I love this video. They're like diving deep into what these people actually care about. Quick question: if video games didn't exist, what would be his job?
We can put
a civil engineer, maybe an artist, right? Maybe a lot of what he does is drawing. It's definitely cool.
Stuff on top of that 2D plane, and then you get new gameplay experiences, new vantage points, like this big mine track that goes above everything. We definitely do a lot of
probably designing new worlds. Yes, he is a world designer.
Testing amongst ourselves, and
he'd find a way to be this is a terrible pause for him, by the way. That's tough, but he would find a way to design our world.
That really helps too. I'm not just crazy shit designing stuff in my corner that will like get people to actually run through.
By the way, this is definitely the office. This is just like a different corner, and there's more setup. So far, I think everything has actually been in the office, and that one guy wasn't actually at home.
And I'll get opinions from people
he was just
who
like in some other room
building it to see like where do they get lost, where are the pain points here. And that's a process we don't just go through for this, we go through it for all the spaces we design in our game. And again, we'll also look back at previous...
I actually think this is my favorite kind of content. Not even just at Blizzard, because Blizzard is something that's really close to me, but like if I'm ever going to go on a YouTube binge, it's basically just hearing people that are... What I like the most is hearing people that are super passionate about something talk about that thing. So like what I've been addicted to recently, maybe it's in my YouTube recommended actually. Yeah, like first of all, Joe Scott is nuts, but like Insider, like this, pirate historian rates 8 pirate battles in movies or something like this. I don't really care about any of these movies, but I love listening to someone who knows a lot about pirate shit talk about pirates. I just think it's like endlessly addicting to listen to someone talk about something that they know a lot about and care a lot about, even if you don't care about that at all. That's basically the vibe from this too.
Examples of what did players like from previous zones, what did they not like. We try to learn from our past mistakes and learn from our past successes and bring that forward into our new stuff.
One of my favorite little Easter eggs, because there are plenty on this isle, there are plenty of Easter eggs and secrets for people to look forward to. One of my favorites personally is the bestiary, actually, all the creatures that are native to the island. One of the things that I took a lot of inspiration from was actually Darwin's finches and the Galapagos, and that essentially states that there are all of these finches that are very closely related, but on different islands, their beaks have become different, right? So they have adapted to do different
evolution
things and eat different things. So I took that concept and I put it on the Siren Isle. It's like, we have this isle.
Bro, how are you? Oh, he can fly. I didn't see the wings at first. This is one of those wind riders, right? Or something like a wind rider. I was like, bro, how the fuck did that cat get up there?
Where are all the
What are
creatures
they
that
doing up there?
How has the island been affected over time? Like, all of the creatures are
They're
intentional.
wyverns? Oh, my bad.
It's a fun Easter egg that I don't think people would look for, but I hope that they'll enjoy.
Oh, people
uncovering
are
the
all
secret
over
of
that shit.
The history of the isle through the creatures as well.
Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Our team had a blast in creating and bringing to life Siren Isle, and we really hope that you have just as much fun exploring it as the team did in creating it. Wanted to thank you all again, and we really hope to see you all in the Siren Isle.
Woo! Yeah, it looks cool. All right, what else did they announce? So, I mean, they obviously announced the Plunderstorm thing. So 10.0.7 content update on the PTR starting tomorrow. Okay, so we'll learn some more about what those rings Actually, the rings usually take a while to get. Well, when is this content planned on being released? Like, is there even like a projected date? I mean, actually, you could probably guess, right? You could look at the time from 10.0.5 to 10.0.7, and I bet it's pretty similar. Probably like December, and then like Plunderstorm a few weeks later. Yeah. Comes back for a limited time early in 2025. Kegleg returns to pillage the Arathi Highlands, join the crew, and fight to be the last pirate standing and grab all the plunder you can get your hands on. Loot from the new Plunder Store. What the fuck is the Plunder Store? And including new and returning transmogs and mounts. Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about this on the pod EC this week, so I probably won't dive too deep into it, but I think the biggest... If you think back into why there was so much negative stuff about Plunderstorm, I think it boils down to two things. Number one, I think it kind of made people expect something else and they felt like they got duped. So like when this was initially announced, it was on the yearly planner or whatever. What are those things called? The roadmap? It was on the roadmap for like 4 months before it actually came out. And it just had a pirate flag. So people were expecting all kinds of stuff. Maybe people in their mind were like, maybe there's like a mini raid or some dungeon thing. Or maybe there's like this pirate time walking thing. Or maybe there's just like a pirate zone and we do pirate stuff in game, but it's all like PvE focused. No one was expecting a battle royale, and there's a lot of people in WoW that, and this was probably made pretty obvious by Plunderstorm, is they don't like PvPing for any reason. Just straight up, in any game. There are a lot of WoW players that never want to PvP ever, and they avoid it at all costs. And then they were basically like, but you know what those people also like? Mounts and transmog. And in fact, it's almost like any mount and transmog in the game, their main goal is getting all of those. So if there's a mount and a transmog from this event, they have to do it, and they have to PvP for the first time like ever, except for all of the PvP mounts and achievements and collectible things in WoW. That's like kind of a different thing, but like that was clearly a really bad reaction. Like you saw tons of people like gathering plunder, and as soon as someone looked at them sideways, they just turned around and ran and died into the thunder, and they did that all the way to rank 40 renown, which is an insane grind that had to be extremely frustrating. So I think I need to remember kind of what we came to last time when we were talking about this a lot, but they definitely need to make like an in-game Plunderstorm thing, maybe on this isle, but like just a way where you can do dailies to increase that renown, and realistically you can cap out the renown without having to queue up into Plunderstorm. Because if you were someone who was open to the gameplay of Plunderstorm, I don't really know what that means. I guess you're kind of open to PvP or trying something new, or it was like fucking mint. It was, and this is my opinion, like I the two games I have played the most in my life is WoW and Battle Royale games. Seriously, it's like 1 and 2. So it's like the perfect mix. And for someone who thinks a lot about Battle Royales, and I've played all of them, it was like so fucking well made. It was insane. It was so good. And like impressively good, especially for not having being tested beforehand publicly. But yeah, it is. Oh, also, I think another reason that it was able to be negative is it was really well made, but it didn't get announced and you could play it right away. If you remember, they announced it at like 7 a.m. and the servers didn't come up until like 5 p.m. So people just had 10 hours to like, this isn't what I want, doom and gloom, typical WoW Twitter, like doomer situation. There was like an entire day of rage before you could even play it, and then people played it and they were like, wait, this fucking owns. If you could play it right away and it was like, wait, this fucking owns, sure, there'd be a lot of people that still just felt like they were misled with the announcement, or it wasn't content for them. But I think a lot of the dooming would have, because people didn't know it was going to be like incredibly well made. skill shot based PvP with oceanic ping on US only servers. Oh, that's terrible. You guys didn't get an OC server? I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that does sound unfortunate. I played so many hours of that game. Tuning wasn't too terrible, was it? In Plunderstorm? Not really. Like, Firestorm was very noob friendly. Like, it was really easy to use, and it was killing people. It was definitely overtuned in general, but like they nerfed it one too many times because it was so easy to use that a lot of people just like gravitated towards it every game, and people just weren't used to using other stuff yet. Like, I believe the slicing wind was more broken than Firestorm ever was for escaping and everything else involved with it as an offensive ability. Obviously, Fish and Searing Axe were like a really good combo with that. And even a lot of the stuff that you didn't see get a lot of use, and you could argue was bad tuning, things like maybe Chains, even though Chains did have a use early game, or things like the Snowstorm, like the little slow you could do, the things like the little, like the Caltrops slow. All of those things were not good in solos and duos, and including Starbomb or whatever it was called. Every single thing like that, when they released threes, all of those abilities that were not as good in solos and duos were actually insane. Like, they were so good in threes. You just farmed people with those abilities. So if you look at like solos, duos, and trios, there were certain abilities that were good for all of them, but there was no ability that was bad. Like, there was a scenario where you would play like every single build. It was remarkably well tuned. Like, even the abilities that seemed really bad were just really good in another version of the mode. Wait, I just realized this is probably not the right decision, but I want to see the wowhead comment reaction to Plunderstorm coming back. Because, like, if you rank the most degenerate posters, like somewhere between Twitter, YouTube comments, wowhead comments, forums, like the wowhead comments are they worse than YouTube comments? YouTube comments can be extremely degenerate. There's like different sections. Like the top of the YouTube comment section is very normal, and then like if you really scroll down, you'll see some fucking freaks down there. Twitter's the opposite, which is partially why Twitter is dog shit. All the reasonable stuff is at the bottom, but when you first start scrolling, you just see all of the freaks. So it seems like Twitter is worse, but if you actually read through all of it, I think YouTube is certainly more degenerate than Twitter. Wowhead comments, on the other hand, are like... I mean, Wowhead comments just skew casual in every single way. And Plunderstorm was something hated by casuals, generally speaking. So, all right, let's look. That's unfortunate. Boo! Heck yeah, best event in the game. Dude, W Atha, man. Oh no. Ugh. Lost opportunity to not make it on the new Siren Isle, but instead do it in Arathi again. We talked about that before, but I think new maps in Battle Royales are extremely overrated. It would also increase the amount of time it would take to bring it back. By far, it'd be the most time-intensive thing to do the new map. I think there's still a ton of room to just refresh the mode, especially in a limited time situation, to still make it very good. In fact, I just don't even know if you need a new map. I think everything else you could do with it is way more important. I'm down. Can't wait to farm some PvE lords in another Plunderstorm season. Let's go. After the first time, there's no chance in hell I will touch this. I doubt that. You know what I think will happen, Redemption 86? There's no way in hell I'll touch that. And then they'll announce a 40-track renown thing, and then you'll convince yourself that actually you have to do it. You'll hate every second of it and complain about it the whole time. That's probably what you'll do, just like last time. Dragon Guardian, I would rather play Shadowlands Remix than play Plunderstorm. I hate Plunderstorm. Nice. I was hoping we wouldn't have to wait too long for the return. W. Best event ever. Can't wait to see people run into the storm again. Kick W. Make it long. I'm actually surprised that people like this even comment on Wowhead. W, this is such a fun event. The only thing that's a little sad is that it looks like there's no new zone. Man, people really want the new zone. Maybe I'm alone in that. I feel like if people knew that new zone meant massively delayed in it coming out, maybe it would change, but it seems like people really just do like the idea of just being in a new zone thematically. Like, I mean, I'm certainly not one to care about that. Like, I think I've been on record before as saying I don't care if the boss has like zero aesthetics. It's basically just like a Minecraft box that just does cool mechanics. Like, that would be fun to figure out. Like, I would enjoy the game the same. Not like all the way the same, because I think the aesthetics can be really cool, but like mostly the same. So when it comes to like new design and theme, I think like that's something that I just know that I don't care a lot about. What is it? I hated Plunderstorm, but seeing all this hate makes me like it, and now I want to play it because I didn't even give it a chance last time. I auto-hated because I don't PvP, but I'm open to being wrong. Well, I think another part of it too is you need to play with friends. Like, playing Battle Royale solo ever is fucking psycho shit. That is very weird. Like, really fucking weird. Like, Plunderstorm is the exact kind of thing where playing duos or trios with friends will just increase your... Like, I fucking love Battle Royale games. I would never play one solo. It just sounds like a... Well, I mean, actually, I played a lot of Plunderstorm solo. But that was more because it was really fun stream content. I literally like undercover Plunderstormed. I like went around saving people that were just trying to get through the game. Like they were like level 3s and people were hunting them, and I would just protect them and let them win at the end. Like that was why I did solos, which was actually sick content as well. That was really fun. I don't even remember any of their names now, but it was fucking hype. I fucking screamed in agony when they finally got killed. Don't forget the pictures. Oh yeah, dude. People would be like, they'd be like running from me, and I'm like, do you want to pick? And then they just fucking pose up for the screenshot real quick. That was hype. And then that one guy who wanted to pick, but he couldn't type pick fast enough, so we just fucking killed him, and it hit, like you saw the little say bubble with pick question mark, like as he was dying. Oh my God, I felt so bad. My friends are functioning adults in their 30s. We do not battle royale anymore. Really? I feel like a lot of my friends are functioning adults in their 30s who love battle royale. They're probably just different friends. I even know some people like not super close actually that I play hockey with that like have a group of friends that game, and they fucking love like Warzone and shit like that. They're in their 30s. They're not degens. They're just fucking normies.